What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from different comic book companies. Today, we're going to jump back over to Marvel Comics and continue our coverage over the Ultimate Marvel Universe. And we're going to pick up with Miles Morales Spider-Man. Now, this is the last run for Miles Morales in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, and a lot of things happen in this run. The big thing about this run is we get the return of two big characters from Peter Parker Spider-Man's run. So this is a very, very big time video right here. So if you do like today's comic book video, please hit that like button down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoy today's video. So with the opening of this book, we get one of the biggest reveals of this book, that Norman Osborn did not die at the end of Ultimate Spider-Man Death of Spider-Man storyline, like we all thought he did when that book happened. But we see that Nick Fury kept the fact that Norman Osborn is alive, except with the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. is no longer around thanks to the ending of Ultimate Catalysm, where the American government thinks S.H.I.E.L.D. has not done a good job protecting the Earth. Now the American government now has to watch over Norman Osborn, which we all know how this is going to go later on. Going over to Brooklyn, we do get this scene where you have Brian Michael Bendis introduce some new villains. These villains are going to pop up here and there again, but their goal is, of course, to steal some things. Except with them looking like Spider-Man in some areas of their bodies, this is going to lead to people thinking that people are going around pretending to be Spider-Man. These characters are going to appear again throughout this video and the next one too. Finally, getting over to the star of the book, Miles Morales, we see him hanging out with his new girlfriend, Kate Bishop. Now, of course, she has no idea that he is Spider-Man and how he is part of the all-new Ultimates as well. So she is wondering where he was the night before this moment, because they had some plans. But Miles can't tell Kate that he was out being Spider-Man. Then she brings up the fact that maybe he missed hanging out with her because his dad finally came home. So let me explain, because we skipped this part in the Ultimate Catalysm event. In the tie-ins for Spider-Man for that event, Miles' father found out that Miles Morales is Spider-Man and blames Miles for the death for Miles' mother, who died by the hands of Venom. Since Miles' father, Jefferson, found out, he never had returned home yet, thanks to him finding out about his son being Spider-Man. We then switch over to the idea of Norman Osborn, who is being transported to his new holding cell, because again, S.H.I.E.L.D. is no longer around. Even though I feel like they could keep him in the same cell he has been in, either way, Green Goblin breaks out and now he is on the loose once again in the world. Of course, we all saw this coming earlier. Getting back to Miles, we see him talking to Genki, and this is him talking to Genki about maybe Miles telling Kate Bishop that he is Spider-Man, which of course to Genki that would be a bad idea, but Miles hates lying about where he has been to Kate. Even though Genki expressed how he feels about this, Miles thinks he needs to go to an expert about this topic. Of course, the person he goes to is Mary Jane, because she was the girlfriend to the Ultimate Spider-Man Peter Parker. Miles wants to know if it is a good idea for him to tell Kate by comparing it to Peter Parker telling Mary Jane. She tells him it has its ups and downs, like almost being killed multiple times by Spider-Man's villains, but she is happy he did, because if he had died before telling her, that would hit her feelings even more. So it is her telling Miles, just make sure if you are going to tell Kate, make sure it is the right choice. To close on the first chapter, you have Miles Morales swinging home, where of course he passes a billboard that is talking about the two new villains from earlier. Makes him wonder what is going on with that. Except he does go home hoping that maybe his father has finally come home. He hears noises coming from his bedroom, which makes him wonder if his father has finally returned home after being gone for so long. This, of course, gives us our big plot twist of the book in the Ultimate Spider-Man universe. The person in his room is no other than Peter Parker, who should be dead in the Ultimate Marvel universe. Of course, we can't dive into that moment because we have to focus on the fact that Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, is back on the loose, where we see him right now visiting his old Oscorp building. Of course, it is run down, so it seems that there is not much left there. Except, of course, that is when we see that he had a hidden lab that is holding a bunch of different Oz formulas, money, and anything else he would need to continue his work. We can finally switch back to Miles Morales, who has a supposed to be dead Peter Parker in his room, where you have Miles freaking out because there is no way Peter Parker should be alive at the moment. He should be dead. And you have Miles actually speak about the idea that Peter Parker should be dead now. How in the world is this man alive again? And you have Miles Morales think that maybe this Peter Parker is from another dimension or another Earth, like how he met the main Marvel Universe Peter Parker. Of course, we know it is not, but you have this Peter Parker demand that Miles Morales should hand over Peter Parker's web shooters. Remember that Aunt May gave Miles Morales Peter Parker's web shooters as a way to honor Peter Parker and complete the process of Miles Morales being Spider-Man. Except Peter Parker is demanding that Miles Morales hands back over the web shooters. Miles thinks Peter should tell his Aunt May that he is alive, except this Peter Parker thinks it is a bad idea, and they actually fight for a moment, where it ends with Miles getting knocked out, but once he wakes up, Peter Parker is now gone. Now, once Miles Morales wakes up, he quickly thinks that there is no way Peter Parker is alive again, or that this is some Peter Parker from another universe. This is clearly a clone of Peter Parker. Just like in the main Marvel universe, in the Ultimate Marvel universe, there was a clone saga. And of course, Miles met one of those clones. Spider-Woman from this universe, Jessica Drew, is a clone of Peter Parker. So Miles thinks that this new random Peter Parker must be a clone of the original Spider-Man. You have Brian Michael Bendis remind us about the two new villains who people think are related to Spider-Man. Once again, we see them stealing more stuff, but this time they're stealing things from a Stark place. Except this time we get to actually know what they are trying to steal, which is of course a project named Latveria. It is the only thing they really want. This is the moment you have Miles Morales run over to Genki and tell Genki what just happened. You also have Miles Morales telling Genki that he thinks it has to be a clone that is running around. Genki and Miles are really trying to figure out if this could be true, but also this is the moment you have Kate Bishop appear again, the girlfriend of Miles Morales. This seems like this is going to be the moment you have Miles Morales going to tell Kate Bishop that he is Spider-Man, because when she walks up on Genki and Miles, the two of them quickly try to change the subject, and she knows that they are hiding something. So it is going to be the moment Miles is going to tell Kate Bishop who he is. Sadly, we have to switch over to J. Jonah Jameson, who is going to have some more big moments in this book. Also, that this is the moment the public finds out that Norman Osborn is alive, since Jonah was trying to tell his staff to give him something good to publish, and you have Ben Urich walk in and announce that Norman Osborn is alive again. Picking up with Maria Hill, who in this universe, she is a detective, we learn that the Spider-Man who attacked the Stark base earlier have the police looking into this case, of course, except with one of the guards dying in the hospital from his injuries, the case became a homicide case and was given over to Maria Hill, where now the question is there a connection between those spider-like characters to Miles Morales? Because remember, she knows that Miles Morales is Spider-Man, so she is going to question Miles Morales. Finally, getting back to Miles Morales, Genki, Kate Bishop, well, you do have Miles Morales tell Kate Bishop that he is Spider-Man. Of course, at first, she does not believe that he is Spider-Man. Once you have the two guys both going quiet for a while and give a look that Miles is serious, well, you have Kate Bishop realize that Miles Morales was telling the truth, and she runs away. After Miles Morales tells Kate Bishop who he is, well, that is when you have Maria Hill pull up to tell Miles Morales that he needs to get in the car. That yes, he is in trouble, but it is because he put on that suit. Of course, Miles is young, and when you have a friend like Genki, Genki tells Miles to run, and Miles does, and uses his powers to disappear. Of course, that makes Maria Hill mad, but she drives off. Now, Miles Morales uses his powers to just disappear, and once Maria Hill leaves, well, he reappears again, and this is the moment he finds out that Norman Osborn is alive. That could be another reason why Maria Hill had shown up again. That leads us back to Norman Osborn, but also a sad moment, as we get another death of a longtime character in the Ultimate Marvel Universe. This person who is going to die is Monica Chang. Monica Chang, of course, was the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. after Nick Fury and Carol Danvers left the role. She was the last one. Of course, her leadership led up to the moment S.H.I.E.L.D. was closed down. Also, she is the ex-wife and the mother to Nick Fury's child. But we see that she has brought a team of agents all working for the American government to bring in Norman Osborn, except they are nowhere prepared to have the gear to handle him. So you have Norman Osborn killing all the agents, including Monica Chang as well. So where Miles Morales goes next is the home of the Parkers, since Norman Osborn is alive, and also the fact that there is a Peter Parker running around out there in the city. He thinks that maybe one or both of them could go there, the home of Aunt May and Gwen Stacy, except when he gets there, of course, they are not home. So he feels lucky about that. Sadly, this is the moment you have Miles Morales meet Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin. The new Spider-Man gets the chance to fight against the old Spider-Man's worst enemy. Getting back to Kate Bishop, because she just found out that her boyfriend is Spider-Man, when she comes home crying and running up to her room, well, her sister Misha saw her, wondering what is going on. And you have Kate Bishop tell her sister that Miles Morales told her that he is Spider-Man. Now, Misha quickly tells her sister, Kate Bishop, that she cannot tell mom and dad. If she does, well, they will kill Miles Morales. We also learn that Kate Bishop actually loves Miles Morales and understands why he told her that he is Spider-Man. Getting back to Miles Morales, who's about to fight against the Green Goblin, this is the biggest moment really for Miles Morales. Now he has to fight against the worst enemy of Peter Parker. This is going to be a new learning experience for Miles Morales, which at first shows that he can't just rely on his basic moves. He is going to have to adapt and learn that Norman Osborn is not someone you can take so lightly. You need to take a man like this very seriously. So of course, Miles Morales knows what is at stake here for sure. So of course, with this fight happening in the middle of a random neighborhood, the news is getting out quick and everyone finds out that Norman Osborn and the new Spider-Man are fighting against each other. We also learn that Miles Morales went to the wrong home of the Parkers, the old one, since Aunt May and Gwen Stacy are also finding out about this fight. I mean, even Mary Jane, Jonah, Maria Hill, Genki, Ben Urich, and even Kate Bishop. This is huge for everyone because everyone thought Norman Osborn was dead, not alive, except here he is again. Then, to make things worse, you have the clone of Peter Parker, or whatever he is, appearing out of nowhere. Since this is being shown all over the news, all of the characters from Peter Parker's life and Miles Morales' life now know there is someone else who could be Peter Parker running around in the old suit. For Green Goblin, he is confused on how Peter Parker is alive again, so this makes him angry, except you have the two Spider-Man work together to stop the Green Goblin, because they know how dangerous he is. This fight ends with Green Goblin running away after taking a few punches from the two Spider-Men and a Venom Blast from Miles Morales. For the last page for this chapter, well, you have the news show Miles Morales and Peter Parker. Of course, Aunt May and Gwen Stacy are seeing this, and Gwen doesn't want to believe that it is Peter Parker. For Aunt May, it could be Peter Parker, her nephew. So with the opening of the 5th chapter and the last one for this video, this is the moment you have the police surrounding both of the Spider-Men, where the police are planning on arresting the two of them. Of course, you have Peter Parker tell Miles Morales to run, even though Peter Parker took back the web shooters that Miles Morales had. So while Peter Parker is able to swing away by his web shooters, Miles has to run and end up getting shot in the leg. Well, grazed by the bullet. So Miles is able to get away, but he is not able to get too far because of the bullet graze that he got. So he really can't go far thanks to the bullet graze. And also he has no web shooters. Lucky for him, Maria Hill decides to risk her job and let Miles Morales get in the car so she can take him somewhere so she can find some kind of help for him. So he does have somebody on his side, as it seems. Switching over to our new villains, we get to see them out of their costumes, and we see it is two dudes who are twin brothers. Well, they seem like twins to me in this section, but we don't learn much about them, except they are working for someone. One brother is thinking about stopping all of this, the other one doesn't. They both are scared of their boss, but they're going to use the time where the police are looking for the Spider-Men to steal more things. Which then leads us back to Miles Morales and Maria Hill as they pull over and she gives him a first aid kit to help bandage him up. Miles Morales calls Genki to let him know that he is okay, except this is the moment you have Maria Hill wanting to know more about the other Spider-Man, but also how in the world is the Green Goblin alive again? Someone who should still be dead, but of course he is not. The next section is more of us seeing where Norman Osborn went after fighting against both other Spider-Men. Well, he went to go see J. Jonah Jameson. So now the big question is, why in the world is J. Jonah Jameson so important for Norman Osborn to come over here for? Well, we learned that Norman Osborn wants the world to know his pain, but also how thanks to all of the different organizations that forced him to make the Oz formula, S.H.I.E.L.D., Roxxon, and Hydra too, they all had a hand into him working to create the Oz formula that made him look bad, made him look like a monster. Even after he made Peter Parker Spider-Man in him, they made him look like a monster to the world. Except of course we know the truth. So his goal is to get payback to all of those people who are in power. Before he is able to explain even more, well, you have Jonah shoot at Norman Osborn. we don't get to see the outcome of that. So that is one of our cliffhangers for this video. The second cliffhanger is that Maria Hill and Miles Morales knows where Peter Parker is at. So we see them drive over to the home of Mary Jane. And of course, there is Peter Parker with Mary Jane. Then Peter Parker thinks it is time for Miles Morales to finally get some answers on what is going on here. And this is where we are going to end today's video. So please hit that like button down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read? Well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoy today's video.